Hi, my name is Rachel McLeod, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and emotional wellness coach. And I help people do the actual brain work required to help their brains get rid of symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And so I want to talk today about something that most of my clients fear on some level, and that is becoming just like their mom. And carrying forward her dysfunction into their life and into their children's lives. And so I've titled this The Fastest Way to Become Just Like Your Mom and carry forward her dysfunction. And you can be coming from this from many different places. You might be like, well, um, you could be coming from a place where you have experienced childhood neglect, severe family dysfunction, complex childhood trauma, and in which case you may have come out of that thinking, I am going to do anything but what she did. I'm going to do the opposite of what my mom did. Many of us we're told, don't be like me by their mothers. Right. So we had a job to not be like our mothers. Other people were like, my mom did pretty awesome, but, there was a couple of dysfunctional things that I'd like to not carry on. And so, on some level, we know that we're supposed to really work through this stuff and create something new. And some of us will be creating that stuff from scratch from the very beginning. But ultimately, there is ways people get stuck in this, and there is the fastest way to get stuck with this. And I'm going to break this down for you so that you understand what's going on. Because if you understand what's going on, you can actually use the fastest way to not carry on your mom's dysfunction or to end up like your mom. Um, Gosh, I wish I didn't even have to say that. How hard is that? I'm having a hard time saying that. So it painful stuff because I don't think any of us who start out on motherhood ever want our children to say that. But really, the fact of the matter is, even no matter how awesome your parent is, you're actually not supposed to become like them anyway. You're supposed to become like yourself. And so, wherever you're coming at from here, let's go. Let's go into this conversation. Okay, so what I know that people are saying this when they say to me, um, I know that I know we're on a fast track to becoming just like their mom and carrying forward mom's dysfunction when they say things like, I do not want to be like my mom. Or they say something like, I am not going to do what she did. Or they say, I'm going to go do the opposite. I'm doing everything the opposite of what she did. And these are the fastest ways to become like your mother. And what happens here is that the more emotional power you have coming under these things, the more you are determined, the more you are like, no, the more you're horrified by the idea of becoming your mom, the more likelihood that you will actually become like her and you will get the results that she got. And this is why. When we think about something and there's emotional distress coming up about it, especially the more emotional distress, this actually shuts down the brain's healing, growing, transforming, solution making process, right? And so the more disgust, horror, fear you have about becoming like your mom, the more your brain's going to shut down every time you think about your mom, right? So let's say you're thinking about mom and all of a sudden you are like, I'm being just like her. Maybe you say something and all of a sudden you're horrified. That horror, that emotional intensity can really stop your brain's updating process and resolution process, right? We want your brain to go ahead and take this, oh, look at me, I'm like my mom here, and move that through your brain's healing process and clean that up and really make it so that it's yours and it gets rid of what it no longer needs and creates a new subconscious program for it, creates a new way of being for it so that you can actually be yourself. That's what your brain does. It makes all this emotion that comes through helps you, if it makes it through the brain's process for healing and upgrading, getting rid of symptoms, getting rid of subconscious programmings that are old. When it makes it through that, it has really created something great for you. And we want your brain to do that all over the place. But the more you're looking at mom and you're horrified, the more this process breaks down. And the more that your brain cannot actually help you become more like you. You will be stuck in patterns of being like your mom. Because the truth of the matter is that we all become our mothers. thank you, subconscious programming, we don't have a lot of shielding growing up to our subconscious mind. And so you can basically tuck anything into a child's subconscious mind before 7. And they really don't have an option with that. And so moms do this. We do this with our children because children have these little cool gadgets in their brain. We have them as we're older too, but they're mirroring neurons. That means their brain is practicing everything that we're doing. I want to say this right. Um, so I'm gonna back up. So mirroring neurons, like if you how it's been how I understood it, because this I'm taking all these, I'm following these neuroscientists, but they explain that when a child watches their mom, however their mom like face is moving and what she's doing, the mirroring neurons are responding the exact same way. So even though the child might not be doing the things mom is doing, their brain is firing off in the exact same way that it would take mom to be doing that. So all mom's facial expressions, your brain is mirroring them. So you're getting practice doing mom's facial expressions, mom's statements, the things mom does. You're getting that, and it's loading into you. And this is actually how it's supposed to be. But if our mom wasn't very functioning, or any of her dysfunction, we're going to pick that up and we're going to run with that too. And so we really to want to meet this with a groundedness. We don't want to meet this with like, I'm afraid I'm going to be like her, right? Because that shuts down your brain's healing process. Um, but we all do become our mothers, and when we see it, we like I just said, we want to notice it, and we can do a lot of work with that. I'm going to show you what we can do with that, how we can get the brain to get rid of mom's programming so that you can really have your own. Um, Another thing that the second thing that happens, yes, and so is that the emotional distress caused by seeing ourselves be our mothers, or having fear that our results are going to be like hers, or that our kids are going to we're going to treat our kids the same way, or our kids are going to turn out and have the same struggles we did. That stuff causes that emotional distress that can shut down your brain's healing and growth and um, expansion and problem solving process, and that locks in old programming. Your brain can't get it out. If that process stops, you're stuck with whatever programming it is. And as a matter of fact, your brain will just shove it. Your brain will try to bring it up, and then it'll shut it back down. It will try to bring it up and shut it back down over and over again for a lifetime. So what we really want to do there is take the fear out of being like our mom. That's like the first project, when we encounter this. Um, and we want to take the distress out, the shame out of being just like our mom. We want to take out the horror of being just like our mom. We want to take out all that emotional distress about being like our mom, so that when we find it, it can move through. But we can say, hey, I've been looking for you, you yucky program that my mom didn't even like and wasn't good for her either. Let's get you out of here. And your brain can do that because that process will not be stopped by the fear or the massive emotional distress. And those old programs don't have to be locked into who you are and how you express in the world, how you relate to your children. Um, yeah, so that way you can be free to be yourself and let this stuff come to the surface. We want it to come to the surface. We want your we want your dysfunctional subconscious programming to come to the surface and leave. It's in there. We don't want it staying down there and suppressed and repressed. We actually want it to come up and go through. So the more that you're allowing of that, the more that you're open to seeing how you're like your mother and seeing this stuff, the better your chances are of getting that stuff through and resolved, instead of it hanging out in the back creating with you. Um, the other thing is that, um, let me say it like this. Um, we find we find our fear of being like our mom in very specific areas, like in our marriage. We don't want to have the same marriage our mom had. We find it in our careers. We don't want to be as addicted to work as mom was. We find it in our child rearing. We don't want to yell at our kids like mom yelled at our kids. We find this in very specific places. But the thing is that your brain, in order to accomplish goals like having a healthy marriage, your brain actually needs a really healthy, vibrant subconscious program for it. And it needs to build that. And but what happens is if mom had a marriage, we get to go and take all of mom's subconscious program, which you will, and throw it into place. Your brain just automatically does it. It's like, oh, I know how to do this, and it starts doing mom's the subconscious programming you picked up in childhood from mom. This can also be dad, but many people have mom issues because mom was the primary caregiver, even if mom wasn't functioning very well. And so that's what we're doing here. But feel free to apply this to the caregiver that you're around the most, or dad. Same deal. This actually, this is everywhere. But if you can understand this concept here, then you can go and take it out and you'll see it pop up for you in other place. And you're like, "Ah, I should work on that." So let's see. Um, but so in these very specific places, right? Your brain needs a way of being in marriage, right? So it pulls up mom's subconscious programming. Now, if you just go ahead and get rid of it, you're going to have nothing there, and that's not going to work for you either. Um, what we really want to happen is we want your brain to look directly at your marriage. We can also say we want your brain to look directly at your kid. What happens here, I've got multiple thoughts coming up. Um, what happens here is that when we have moms, I explained this today. That's why I'm talking about this. And I've explained it so well, and I can see that it's not going to be an exact uh, reapplication to this, but I'm going to try anyway because this is really good. Um, I'm going to explain it the trauma way I did it. Yeah, because I think that will make sense. And then I'm going to try to figure out how to apply it to the subconscious programming. Oh, yeah. Okay, but I'm gonna say this. So we need your brain to look exactly at your issue. The thing you really want to build great strategies around, have really healthy boundaries that we this the whatever wherever you want to have great success, we need you to get look directly at it. A lot of times what happens is we can't look directly at it because there's fear in the way. And then there's that trauma that happened in the 3rd grade. And then there's those beliefs mom had, and then there are all the other relatives that you saw, and all these things start to layer up between you and that thing. And so you really can't get your brain close enough to that. Your brain actually can only get out here because it's like I can see it over there, but I can't get through all these issues. I can't get through the trauma, the beliefs, all the subconscious garbage I picked up along the way to actually see this thing. And so what happens is the brain will create solutions out here for this one problem. And so they're not really fitting. In here, when we're talking about building your subconscious programming around your kid, we want the way you see this kid and the way the supports that this kid actually needs, we want you to see them clearly. That way, if we can get that clarity, we can get your brain to give you precise strategies for supporting that kid. Or if it's your marriage, it'll give your brain this precise strategies for supporting your marriage, right? If all this other stuff is in the way, your brain will create strategies out here that aren't going to be precise to supporting this. It's going to be precise to supporting all the garbage around it, all the beliefs, all the stuff that's not functional, all the traumas, all that stuff, because your brain can't actually release that. And so, really, what we want here is we want to work through all these issues. We want to get that mom stuff out of the way. We want to get the traumas with mom. We want to get her subconscious programming out of the way between you and your issues so that your brain can actually create something specific for you and the success you want to experience and make happen in your life, right? And so without getting rid of mom stuffs in the way, you're kind of looking through mom's eyes and your brain will make mom strategies. That's how it happens. That's one of the way it happens. And so Really, we really want to, that's one of the fastest ways, keeping that subconscious programming of mom stuck down because you don't want to see it. You're not open to seeing how you're like your mom, and your brain is trying to bring it up. Hey, remember, hey, she used to say that. Oh, you're acting just like your mom. But we're not trying to see that. So we keep pushing it back down, and it stays in there. It stays between us and what we want. And so what's really important here is we got to get in there, and if we want to become more of our authentic self, we have to get this stuff out of the way so that we are face to face with the success we actually want to create, or the child we want to support, or the marriage we want to support. Okay. um and that is awesome. The other thing that's really really important to understand here is that in everything that we're creating, in our relationships with our children, in our the successes we want to have in our relationship with our spouse, within our own self-confidence, we are actually, the building blocks for that are emotions. Emotions are at the root of everything we build. Okay. And your brain can only build, I'm not going to say only, but your brain builds with all the emotion that's stuck in your body and your subconscious programming, all the stuff that's stored. If you have unresolved trauma, you have all the emotions of unresolved trauma in there. So your little inner artist that creates your world goes and uses the paint of the trauma paint and starts painting that emotion in your life. It's the building block that you'll see come forward. That make This is an abstract concept, so please stay with me here. Um, and so a lot of times when we see when we have when okay, so oftentimes the people that say I am not going to be like my mother, they will actually get the same results their mother gets, even though they did everything opposite. Right? They'll find that they have the same challenges with their children their mom have, even though they did everything opposite. And this is really frustrating because they're like, how did I get the same results? How am I stuck in the same marriage? How am I stuck in the same relationship with my kids, even though I did everything differently? And that's this concept, is that it's the emotion that goes into it. And I will bet that mom's emotions are stored in here somewhere, that you're matching mom's emotions, and you're creating in those relationships with the material, the emotional material that you got from mom. Okay. So that's an abstract concept, but the fastest way to recreate something totally different is to change the way you feel about it. Change the way you feel about your marriage. Change the way you feel about your goals. If you're feeling yucky, anxious, stressed, um, that will be the emotional building blocks that you build your relationships with. So even though you might be hiding well from your kids that you're stressed out, you're not hiding that very well, because they're picking stuff up that I don't even know if we can even quantify how kids are picking this up or what they're picking up. But they're it'll be the way you feel about them. If your mom felt about her husband that, or her partner, that he was useless, that's gonna come out, right? There's sadness, there's grief in there, there's despair, there's uh, ambivalence, right? There's stuckness. That stuff is stuff you want to clear out of you. Because if you hold that stuff that you saw from mom and that you picked up from mom and the statements that she made, it's going to come out, and you're going to end up getting the same results. You're going to end up being like your mom. You're going to end up creating what your mom created. So it's so much more, it's so much deeper than just doing different activities. It's really about changing the how you feel about the activity, the emotional construct of everything. The emotions are what builds your belief and what makes them stick in your subconscious mind. And when we change that emotion, a lot of times the brain will get rid of the thought that's no longer serving us. But when we change the emotional construct of anything, the whole thing changes. And this is really important if you have a mostly awesome marriage, but you've got some negative emotions in there that you know are coming from your mom because you're saying the same thing mom used to say. Then the thing is to get in there into that thing that you're saying, and why am I saying this? What emotion is driving this forward? And when you find that emotion, you can help your brain work through it. I like to use an intervention right there. I like to help make sure that emotion gets through the brain's healing pathways. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that that brains, if they're going to struggle with the healing pathways, it's going to be because of emotional distress or distress that the body is experiencing as well in response to emotions. And so when it comes to emotions, I like to dive in and use an intervention to ensure and make sure and escort this emotion through your brain's healing pathways, especially if it's something important like reconstructing how we're relating to our children or our marriages or those long held dreams and goals that we have. Um, I don't like to leave things to chance. I like to make sure we escort that emotion all the way out so it doesn't get stuck along its process and get and keep creating with you. So if you can conceptualize some of these things, it really helps you understand that the fastest ways to not be like your mother and not carry on her dysfunction is to really accept that you're going to be like mom, uh, release the fear and anxiety and horror you have around that. Also, I notice lots of times people will feel doomed. They'll feel overwhelmed. That's all stuff that the brains have difficulty moving. So that overwhelm and doom can really shut down your brain's healing process. And so you'll find repetitive feelings of doom because your brain tries to give it up and it gets pushed back down, up and down. And then it's like your brain is struggling with this doom thing, so it can't even get to the mom stuff, right? And so that's really why we want to help the brain with these these emotions so that it can do the work of just let's just solve this problem, right? The brain can create anything we want, anything. You get a good look at it and you can help your brain resolve anything. Just tell your brain what you want it to build for you and you can walk it through its process for building that. And that's really, really empowering because we can create new ways of being for ourselves, new subconscious programming that's authentic to us, that's full of joy, full of healthy boundaries, insights about who we are, self love, self acceptance, acceptance of others. We can really bring that stuff in very, very quickly and really sink it deep. So, but we do need to get mom stuff out of there or reviewed, sent through the reviewing process. If mom had some really awesome things going on but a couple of dysfunctions, let's get your brain to review that because whatever it says, okay, no, that's not going to work for us, but whatever it does say, hey, this is really fabulous, it's going to say, oh, but what if we put this on there, it'll be more like us. Oh, what if we put that on there? Okay, oh, look at that, that looks really amazing. And then it will send it down to your subconscious mind and you start getting subconscious programmings out of that, right? So this is used in so many ways. But and I want you just to see if you this fear about what you don't want to become really is the fastest way for you to become that thing. You know, what we pay attention to we get more of, right? And we pay attention to fear a lot. And so whatever we're afraid of, if we're afraid of becoming like mom, on some level, either subconscious or in your body, you are paying very close attention. Make sure you're not like mom. Make sure you're not like mom. You're going to get more of that. And I don't make up the rules, but that's just how the brain works. So, like I said, the fastest ways to do this is really to change your emotional um, the emotions that you have in response to all of this. And I like to use four tools for this: emotional freedom techniques, thought-filled therapy, energy medicine, and EMDR. These are the four that I equip clients with, and I help them do this work. Um, And these interventions are really easy to learn yourself. Even with the basic use of them, you can really resolve many, many symptoms. And if you want more structure, a more advanced skill set, then you can get those as well. That's something I offer people and what I built a curriculum to help people get rid of symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress in 2 to 6 months. And so really, really deep work. But the actual brain exercises one needs to do to accomplish them. Well, that I found work best in the process. So that's available on my website at rachelmcleod.com/services. So there's several options there how to work with me. Also, if you just want the interventions and you want to try them out, because sometimes sometimes people are going to watch this video, watch any of my videos, and be like, "I'm working with Rachel," right? Come on in, send me a DM, talk to me, let's do this. And there are other people that are like, "I just want to see how this works." Right? And sometimes they'll pick them up, and I teach these for free. I on my email list, send out the exact video training series I give my clients. And because you can pick this stuff up and start using it for yourself, right? And then after you start getting some success, then maybe you're like, let me work with Rachel. Or maybe you're going to your therapist often and say, hey, have you heard of this stuff? Can we use this here? Right? And you're healing. I find, and why I'm able to help people resolve disorders so quickly is because number one, the brain is electrical, and that means it moves at electric speed when it can. That's its natural speed is electricity because it's electrical, and we're in these emotions and stuff. We're working mostly with electrical systems. There's chemical too in there, um, but that's one of the reasons. But two is that the brain usually only has a problem right in between with challenges between the survival system and the body and all the stuff coming from your senses, right? If we can help the brain right there, all this healing can happen, all this transformation can happen. You can dump out all the subconscious brain trash you've picked up that no longer is serving you, get that out of there, and watch your brain create for you exactly what you want. And really, it creates for you exactly how you want to feel because it really builds with feelings. So, but we also know what we want to create. So we get to do both. All right. So I really want you to be inspired. This stuff happens quickly. If you're afraid of being like your mom, really, it's a good time to stop running from that, really face it, and actually help your brain resolve that issue, um, and authenticate all of this stuff. That's authenticate for me is the process of bringing this stuff that are good ideas for others and making it just right for you. That it feels like this is a great, that's yours. It fits all the things, all the requirements that specific situation needs to thrive. And your brain is designed to do that. Nobody else's brain is designed to do that for you. And that's one of the reasons why it's so cool that and it's so important to get your brain to do that for you. And brains can get stuck by this trauma, early childhood trauma, um, difficult painful memories or events can really knock off the brain's ability to really authenticate things for you. And so sometimes if you have just some recent traumatic events, that will come back online very quickly. But a lot of times when there's earlier traumas or repeated traumas, then it really needs some extra support. So gosh. So anyway, when you do this work, you really get to be free to be better, more yourself and more in alignment with what you want to create and actually create it and not have to suffer around with the frustration of why is this happening? It's usually happening for the reasons I just outlined, but it's really about just an emotion shift. And sometimes that emotion shift is something in your body, sometimes it's in your stomach, sometimes it's in your shoulders, but you can find it and you can release it and everything will change. So that's all I have to say about that. But I'm going to read. If you have any questions about what I just shared, because it is kind of abstract. I even was like, do I share this now? And I was like, let's just do it. We can make more videos. Me and myself. Um, but go ahead and post any questions you have about this, any insights you have, any comments. If you're afraid of being like your mom, post that. Also, if you post that after I get off, I will still see it and comment. And sometimes I even make videos about those comments, those questions that you ask. So definitely drop your questions here. Okay. Karen says, thanks for the image of escorting out or thinking about what that is. Yes, yes, we don't have to leave any of this stuff to chance. Brains, I mean, that's when I have some rules even for myself. There are things practices that humans have where it helps us move emotions, throwing fits, um, uh, um, throwing pity parties. Um, all of those things are ways where we're trying to move emotion. But if you don't get that emotion through, you have to do the pity party and the fit again. And you have to do it again because that emotion, that intensity will rise up again and try to make it through your brain's healing pathways. And maybe some of it gets through, but most of it won't. And then it goes back in and down, and then you start repeat, right? And I really don't like to do any of those without using an intervention because I don't want to do this again. One and done. Make sure it gets all the way through the brain's healing process. So, and we can do that. It's really, really, it works really well. Um, I do want to go on and on, but I also set the intention to see if I could make a short video. And I think I've done it. We're at 30 minutes. So if somebody has a question, I'm going to answer it because there's part of me that short is just whatever it is there. But short is just a short video. It's great. See, I need to, that's another thing. While I'm here, another way to become to reinforce patterns uh, that you don't want anymore, that you want to let go of. Another way to reinforce them is to use the word need. When you say I need to whatever, you're actually that word is very survival level, and it really can evoke a lot of survival level distress, a lot of pressure. That pressure, that need can really shut down your brain's healing process, right? So if you were going to um, like if you did want to work on things, you really can use different words so that you don't lock down your brain's healing process, right? And that's one of the major features of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress is that because there's so many symptoms, there's so much survival distress that the healing process gets locked down. And that's really why we go ahead and escort them through. So all these emotions and symptoms, we escort symptoms through the brain's healing process because you have got to go. And you want to. The brain is making symptoms because it's trying to heal itself. Right. And so when we get in there and help it, we're just helping the brain do what brains do and what the brain wants to do. And so, anyway, I'm going to jump off. I don't see any more questions, but wonderful connecting and hanging out tonight. Be well and embrace embrace the momness. Okay, so you can help it move through your brain's healing process. Take care. Good night.